Spiritual work is not rocket science. It does not take a highly evolved mind to figure this out. It does not take years and years and years of reading and studying and thinking. It's ultimately the opposite of thinking. And it is ultimately exceedingly simple. It has to be simple because it has to be available to every human being. And I don't care what culture you come from, I don't care what society, I don't care what your level of education is. It has to be knowable. It has to be something everyone can find. You don't build a spiritual university. It's not like you can study every religion and every practice and have it reveal itself to you. Not that you can't pursue it that way. There's nothing wrong with it. But real spiritual unfolding will not occur through the mind, but in laying aside the mind. This is not new to you. I've talked about this for a very long time. But talking about it doesn't seem to influence the reality that we are so addicted to mind. We're so addicted to understanding, to comprehending, to getting it, that even when it starts to reveal itself, the mind will rush in to own it. Oh, I get it, I got it, I figured it out. And the moment you do that, you begin to not know what it is. The minute you limit it into, this is how it is, you're already wrong, of course. What you are looking for is exactly what's in front of you. And the most amazing thing is, if you're sitting in Africa looking in one direction, and you're sitting in the North Pole and looking in another direction, and you're sitting in San Rafael, California looking in another direction, you're all looking at the same exact thing, and it's equally available. And it's not quite what you're seeing that's important. It's what's looking. Because one thing is looking. And all it is seeing is, if you will, itself. And each of us brings an enormity of complexity in terms of individuality and uniqueness to the thing that's being seen. The filter through which that seeing occurs But deep down, the thing that is looking and the thing that is being seen enjoys that filter, but it is independent of the filter. The filter of your personal history, your personality, your configuration as an entity. All of that colors this and gives it enormous entertaining quality. Fascination, involvement, complexity. It makes it so rich and so diverse. And this sense that two people cannot be looking at the same thing in the same way, which is what the mind tells us, is such a fascinating idea. And when we try to share our seeing and our individuality and our uniqueness with another person, it just reinforces how different we appear to be. The more we look into the amazement of what the universe is, of what life is, what the world is, the more we study it, the more it parts to allow our knowledge to go deeper and deeper and deeper. The more wondrous it becomes, and the more unique our perception of it becomes. And so the more we experience our individual self, the further we are from the simplicity of what's really happening. There's no wrong here. Nobody's doing anything wrong. You're doing what you do because this is what we've been created to become and be. We've been created to be unique, separate individuals. We've been created to see the world through this particular complex of idea, thought, image, feeling, and awareness. But spiritual awakening, spiritual perception diffuses all that. It just takes the whole prism out of the way. All of your own personal need to see it this way as opposed to that way, it just wipes it away. And for a moment, or for more than a moment, depending upon the situation, you see it as it is. And it's so simple. It's so simple. It's so simple that the mind can't grab it. It's so simple that there's nothing to do with it. It just is. And it's so immediately obvious what it is. Not obvious in a way that makes sense, but obvious in a way that doesn't make sense. It's so awesomely real and present tense. It is what is. It is what's happening. And you see it without anything obscuring it. You just see it and you go, that seeing of what is has got to be available to every being that has been created. It has to be available. It does not happen in a processed way. Human beings process, but being itself is unprocessed. It's just direct perception of what is. And everything that understands it goes away, and all that exists is a kind of mysterious truth. But its isness, its fact of being is undeniable. Undeniable. And it takes all of your unique personal self and it just lifts you out of it. It doesn't destroy it. You can always go back into your unique self at any given moment, and you will. But it lifts you out of it, and it just goes. Again, I get wordless at that moment, because what's to say? What's to say other than that it's available to all of us? And most of us, we have it, we experience it, We know it for brief moments, and then we enter into our habituated personal, unique vision of life, and we, quote unquote, lose it. We lose this awareness. We lose this awareness because it's very hard to function in a world of totality. It's very hard to function because it's so big, and it's incomprehensible that it could be this vast and incorporate you, and you would be the one with all there is. What do you do with all of that? What do you do with it? Well, the word do is the issue. There's nothing to do with it. There's nothing to do. There's only, and I talked about this last week, to be with it. Be with it. And then, of course, being with it implies that there's something active involved. There's nothing active involved. Being just happens. You don't have to be. You don't have to try to be. You are. You are. At this instant, you are. Settling into that is the key. The New York Times yesterday ran a story about how to put this, how meditation, we've had enough of meditation in the world. that get off my back. Who wants mindfulness? Who wants to sit still? Why is there this new hierarchy of meditation? Why are people coming at me every day telling me I should meditate? This guy was so angry at meditation. It was really fascinating. And then today, there's an article about stillness. And this one was more about the positivity of stillness, but it was about how we're being encouraged to keep moving, standing, always in motion. That stillness is the end of life. Stillness leads you to death. Stillness is the body decays in stillness, so keep moving. And there's this kind of thing in this society that's all about action. It's all about doing. It's all about functioning. It's all about having. It's all about thinking and understanding and getting and acquiring and all of this stuff. And it's so potent. It's so potent. So that even when we sit back and finally have this moment of true simplicity, inexplicable knowing, oneness, the social norm brings us back very quickly to all of the things that separate us from this awareness. Unless the grace of total dissolution of particularity, of individuality, unless that ego-mindedness starts to really just fall away, you're always brought back into this construct that causes you, more than anything else, struggle and suffering. It's painful to be a complex, unique individual self. This idea of awakening implies separate from that individual self. Have this moment of absolute freedom from your person. But what happens, and this is fascinating, is that you discover that person hasn't gone anywhere. You have gone everywhere. You have become all there is, and yet there is still this separate, unique individual being that loves complexity and loves the dynamics of life and interaction and being this and being that and doing this and doing that. What's so amazing is that the idea of totality, the idea of oneness, allows for that. It allows you to be you and all there is. You don't have to lose you as a part of the equation. You is part of the equation. It's just when there is you and no equation, then you're in trouble. Then you're in this land of suffering, struggle, and make-believe in a way. You're in the world of duality. But the world of singularity is you and everything. It's an everything that's so vast that it allows for it to be nothing as well as everything, for it to be empty as well as full, and all of these dualities that we talk about so often in this class. But it allows there to be a you in it. And a lot of people who talk about awakening and enlightenment give you this idea that there's no individual left. There's no self in it. And that may be at some point. I can't speak to it. But I can speak to what I know, and what I know is there's still Bruce, and there is still what is. And that Bruce is absolutely integral to what is. It's a part of what is, as are each of you. And not to deny that truth, to allow it to be. And that means everything that goes on inside you, every emotion, every thought, every instant of your life, stubbing your toe, driving your car, reading a book, watching a movie, it's all one with what is. There is nothing that separates you from that ever. You are one with what is. That means you are what is. You are the moment that arises. And the best way to know what that is to show up in the moment that's arising. Be right here. Because this is really what's going on. And where we get into pain and suffering is when we don't show up here. We show up where we were and where we want to be. We resent that we're here. Many people hate that they're here. They hate all the aspects of here because here has within it so many of these judgmental dynamics. I like this, I don't like that. That's the source of suffering. Like and dislike. And like and dislike is when you identify yourself as separate, specific, unique, and individual. And it's fascinating. I am built up of all of my likes and dislikes. I like chocolate. It doesn't like me, but I like chocolate. I like certain people. Some people like me, and I don't like them. There's all of these factors that go on in life that we build a personality, and this personality rises into moments of being that are not attractive or appealing. You suddenly, here you are in this moment, and you go, I hate this moment. I want out of this moment. I want it to be different. I want to have this. I want to have that. I don't have enough of this. I don't have enough of that. It's endless dissatisfaction with what is that's at the source of all of this difficulty that we have. And trying to surrender, to be quiet, to find stillness, to meditate, to allow yourself to draw inward, is to start to loosen the structures of your own disturbances and let yourself just be with no mental aspect at all. And that's one of the gifts of meditation. You just, quietude. And when it gets really quiet, you can watch your thoughts and they come up and they disappear, and there's nothing in you that goes to, I like that thought and I don't like that thought. They just are thoughts. You start to get quieter and quieter and quieter and quieter. And then the individual self that you are, excuse me, and the vast self that you are more harmonious. They reach a kind of equilibrium, and there isn't this kind of struggling entity and the infinite universe. There's a kind of harmonious, easy relationship and dialogue between all that is and what you are. It's all one thing. Just one thing. And it's a beautiful thing. It's simple. It's really simple. There's no two. There's no you in it. There just is. And that's all you can say. There just is. The quieter you get, the more you become aware of the what is. The more you are embracing of, if you will, that may be the wrong word, or allowing of. Even that's complicated because it separates you from the what is, but you just are what is. You just are what's happening. And you will never be anything but what's happening. Ever. That's the simple truth of it. Whatever's going on around you and within you is what you are. And what starts to happen, which I happen to find fascinating, is what I was a minute ago is no longer meaningful on any level. Just absolutely not meaningful unless I want to reach into it and grab it and make it meaningful. What's going to happen in an hour or next year or next month, totally uninteresting unless I want to go there and build it into the moments that will come. But the moment that is the only one that you will ever, ever truly be in. And that moment is very simple. It's this. This. And if you say to yourself over and over through the day, only this, yes, this, you find yourself becoming more and more where you are. So that awakened or enlightened or not awakened and not enlightened doesn't matter. Because all that matters is you are where you are. And you may have to work it. That's part of spiritual work. But the reality is, at some point in time, even your working it is part of the oneness of it. And then you just go, I don't have to really do very much of anything to be here now. I don't. This is happening. It's happening. I'm not doing it. It is doing it. Whatever it is, it's happening. And it's doing you at the same time that it's doing everything else. It's lifting the sun up and growing the grass and, maintaining the concretized nature of the carpet on the floor and the solidity of the building we're in. It's doing it. It's doing the whole thing. Why do you think you have to do any of it? You don't. There are certain things that need to be done, and you have identified with the doing of it ever since the beginning of awareness. But in fact, you're really not doing it. It's just happening, and you are very identified with your body, mind that you think you are, and think you're doing it. But if you just relax, it keeps happening. I don't care if you decide to do nothing. Yes, you may, you wouldn't go to work and you wouldn't have any food to eat and you would probably die at some point. But once you accept the happening of it, you just do the thing that is given to you to do. Your own unique personal being is being moved through time and space in a way that you don't have to do much to help it happen. It just happens. It's what we are. We are the totality of happening. We are this now. And it's simple. And I keep saying it's simple because a 2-year-old can not only get it, they do get it. My grandson and I spent 5 hours together Friday just playing, just running around. And it never got boring. It got tiring, but it never got boring. And he never stopped to think about what am I doing and what do we do next. There was always a next. It just kept happening. It just kept flowing. And I just felt like, what a gift to see how it works. He knows what we have forgotten. He knows what's going on. We don't get it. We don't get it because we're processing it and we're filtering it and we're liking it and not liking it. Like and don't like is really, truly the source of your suffering. If you can get to the point, I may have talked about this last week, do what you don't like. Do what you don't like and see what a gift that can be. Like what you don't like. Eat the thing you don't like, go visit the person you don't want to visit. Whatever those things are, turn the tables on yourself. It's such a gift. It's such a gift. Find the thing in you that makes you break down your sense of this is how it is. My mother decided at the age of 4 that she did not like cheese. I guess she had moldy cheese or something. But to the end of her life, she never ate cheese. And I kept, Mom, this cheese is so good. It's so delicious. You've got to try it. Nope, I don't like cheese. Absolutely locking out a whole sort of dimension of life. And we all do it. I'm watching even my grandson at this point. There's certain things you give him, we go, no. It's definitive, no. He will not have it. He's defining the likes and not likes of his being, and that will, 50 years from now, be the source of, therapy and sitting down to meditate and trying to work through all this stuff. All I can tell you is see it for what it is. Say okay to it if you want. It's fine to say okay to it. And just relax into the being that you are and let the boundaries of that being begin to waft away and become what's happening now. Be what's happening now. You have no choice. You have no choice other than saying, I don't like what's happening now, which separates you from it and denies the reality, or saying, okay, or not doing any of the above and just being with it. Just being. Secret of spiritual life. Be what is. It's simple. So that's the journey that we're all on, and I will keep saying it, I guess, week by week by week. It leaves you with the impression that there's something to do, I think. I've got to do that. I've got to do what he's saying, but that's the wrong impression, because you can't do it. How can you do being? How can you do any of this? You can't do it. It's already happening. The stupid part of all this is everybody's reaching so hard and going to classes and devoting their life to spiritual pursuit to get what? This. There's nothing to get. It's just this. And it's so simple. So, I guess the final word in all this is enjoy it. If you can, or don't. It's not going to change anything. But if you just really relax and give yourself over to the unknown, to the unknowable, to the truth of being, which is not graspable on any level, just let it happen exactly as it's happening, you will discover that you've been doing it all along. That it's not new, it's happening, no matter what, it's happening, and you are one with that very thing. And there is a moment of recognition of that is beyond belief beautiful. And that's what we're all trying to arrive at, but as every mystical teaching will tell you, you're already there. Any questions?
Sometimes when I'm starting to feel more present, I go back towards whatever it is that I do to escape. And I guess the main question is, how do I come back or cultivate the willingness? And the other one, is it malicious, or is it just something that doesn't know that draws me away?
Yeah, it would be malicious if you started to want to kill everybody in your class. If it became something like that, it becomes malicious. If it becomes, I hate what I am, I hate where I am, I hate what's going on, if I want to go buy guns, it's that kind of a thing. It's got malicious aspect to it. It happens to people, and it's also part of what is. The mind-brain concept can go in all these very awful directions, but in the gentle sense of most of us, it just gets caught up again in the old patterning. It just happens. So the practice of recognizing, seeing it, bringing yourself back to the moment, which Rudy would say would be just take a breath. Or surrender. Just let it go again. That takes consciousness. Consciousness is a process, it's a practice that allows you to let go of the mind taking over your thisness. The mind owning it, separating itself. And if you watch the mind do that enough, you can actually go, no, no, you can't do that. And you just let it go. In other words, the mind tends to run the show for most people, and you can override it. You can just simply override it. It's like you can turn off your computer. You can just say no to it. You can say you cannot answer the phone when it rings. You have power. You have unbelievable power not to have to give voice to the thing that's rising up inside you that has such addictive aspect. That takes you to the same stupid, and I don't mean to be judgmental, but for most of us, it feels stupid. The same old thought pattern, the same old, I'm not good enough, I can't do it, why didn't this happen? All that stuff that the mind holds on to, you can finally go, no, don't have to do that. And all you have to do is be conscious of seeing it when it happens in order to override it. Just override it and go, no. It's really the only way that I know how to do this, and it's taken many years of meditation, practice. It's so funny that it's taken me almost 50 years of practice to sit down, to just let it be. Let it be, let it be. That's all, it's what can you do? Even if it just, you even get to the point, sort of, where you go, oh, there's the mind doing its thing, and you don't turn it off. You just go, oh, wow, watch what it does. And then you start to really understand how human beings work, how every other human being works, and you'd evolve this idea of compassion, because you see everybody doing it. And you go, wow, that is tough. It's tough to get out of that. It's a hard ride. And you really do feel for other people because you know what the ride is. And you know how far afield you can go from your own sense of consciousness or awareness. And it's a terrible place to go because you can lose a whole life to it. You really can live a whole life in anger at your mother or whatever your thing is, or why wasn't I good enough, or why didn't I get what I was supposed to get, that can really become the fundamental thing. I've people in my life who have one tape going all the time, and I can disrupt it in their mind. I can sit with them and change the dialogue, move them away from it, and you can see they're grateful for that. But the minute we're done, it's back. The same circular pattern of thought. And I can't disrupt that for them permanently. I can disrupt it momentarily. And so can you with other people, if you want. Doing it with yourself is the trick. And that just takes more and more stillness, which allows to arise this level of conscious awareness that can go, no, not this time. And that's empowering. It's really empowering. And finally, you really do get to a place where you're so good at it that you just lay it all down. You just, I don't have to run the show. I don't have to even turn off the computer. I can just trust this whole thing. And it's the thing you want in life. It's the journey you want. The journey of just being you. On every level. You, the ego-minded self, and you, this extraordinary truth of this moment. I mean, you have to know this moment for you involves a roof literally over your head, sun up in the sky, clouds maybe, grass growing. This moment involves totality. This moment involves things going on billions of miles away from us, trillions of miles away, light years away. All of that is all happening right now, and it's you. It's not happening separate from you, and nor are you separate from it. It's one thing. And when you suddenly go, oh, then your computer mind thing is just like, who cares? So it's nothing compared to what's going on. Nothing. I mean, you can even just read the newspaper, and get a sense of all that stuff that's going on. But we're so self-absorbed and we so fill our vision with our own little drama that we don't get what's really happening. So when you suddenly let go, see clearly, it's really big. It's really vast. It's also really small, because there's no relativity in the end. You don't know if it's big or small. There's only one. Is that one thing infinitely large or infinitely small, or does it even exist? I don't know. I don't need to know. I just don't need to know. I am that. I am that. You are that. That changes the game. So when you get into your own little crazy little stuff, you go, why am I doing that? I am infinite time and space and infinite being beyond time and space. Why do I care about that? Or I really care about that, and you own it, which is fine. It's fine until it makes you unhappy, and then you can go, do I want to let go of it or not? Yeah, you can actually live a life of such conscious choice that you can embrace it and let it go. Embrace and let it go. Love it and let it go. I do that with my grandchildren. I know they're temporary. I completely know they're precious because they're temporary. And I'm temporary on every level. Their childhood isn't going to stay childhood. I don't know how much of it I'll get to be around. I know that whatever they are is just passing through, and I can hold it, every ounce that I can take from it, every drop that I can take from it, but it's temporary. And I have to be able to let it go, because if I try holding on to that, I'm an idiot. How can you hold on to anything that's changing like that? You just take it as it comes. And that's a great gift. It's an amazing way to live life. Loving it every second is like, really, every second is like, wow. Long answer. Anybody else?
I just wonder if it's so simple and it's available to all of us. Why is it difficult to get there? You sort of answered some of these questions, but it just...
It's crazy to say it, but
I don't understand.
You're so there.
Yeah.
To get there is the problem. Your mind's telling you have to get there. Where is there to get? It's right here. There's nowhere else. There's nothing but this. It's just for your mind to go, oh, I get it, and be done. There's nowhere to get to. The only thing that's problematic for you is your mind keeps going back into the trip zone of thinking and wanting to have an ownership of that very thing that you already are. And it's partly because of the way you were raised. You have a very strong identification with and gift for intellect. You're not without very powerful mind. And that powerful mind does not want to think that somehow or another there's something beyond it that it can just surrender to. It wants to be primary. It's your safety zone, among other things. The fact that you have this incredible mind makes you secure in the world. So the idea of giving it up or thinking of it as a little something in the bigger scheme of things is very difficult. But if you can do that, and you desperately want to, because you come here with a hunger that's absolutely real, just trust this process and let it go. Just for a minute. Just go, okay, I don't have to understand anything. And then you just look around you and you go, this is it. This is all there is. It's nothing but that. This is what is happening, period. Let go of putting it into the perspective of what's happened in the past, and let go of what it might have advantage for in the future. Let that go, and just be right on. And you're there. You're there right this second. You are, until your mind goes like this. What does he mean? What does he mean? What's he talking about? Blah, blah, blah. As soon as that happens, then of course you're not there. You are there. You're there in a thinking mode, but your awareness and consciousness are not there. And being present involves awareness and consciousness. Awareness more than consciousness, but both really. And so if they align, here you are. And it's so simple that you're here. Where else are you? Tell me where else you could be right now, at this very second. I wouldn't know how to move you back into the apartment in San Francisco. I wouldn't know how to, move you into the past. I wouldn't know how to move you to the future. I can't do any of that, but I can talk to you right now about this moment. And as soon as you stop processing that, you just go, oh. And it's not particularly revelatory that I'm here and that this is happening. It's like, yeah, this is happening. until it becomes like, oh my God, this is happening. I mean, I mean that. I walk around and I go, this is happening. What does that mean that this is happening? That knocks me out almost every day. This is happening. This is. As opposed to not happening. I exist. It exists. This is real. That is not a little passive idea. It's the source of everything. It's happening. Anyway, it's a whole other way of taking on the world. Not putting it like, oh, it's happening. Oh God, it's happening again. It's happening. It's a miracle. Anyone else?
So this thing about liking and not liking. So I just want to turn it. Like, there are a lot of things I really like. I get very excited. Like, just come in here, very excited, like it. Is that, so two things. One, is that kind of distracting because it's the, well, two things. So one is like how to make hay with that. Like, should I embellish that or whatever? But also, is it sort of distracting because it's not like I'm excited, but I don't know that I'm in the wow of it.
The wow of it is not personal. It's kind of, it's like, it's self-loving itself in a certain level. But let me talk about liking. I'm not trying to disparage you for liking or not liking, or for the individual that it makes you. Not everybody has purple hair. That's very unique, and it's an announcement to the world of uniqueness. Does that work in the scheme of what's happening? Yes. Yes. Is the universe thrilled by its existence of you having purple hair and being this person? Yes. Unless you don't like it. The day you don't like it, you'll dye it again, and then it'll be different. And you're a participant in the what is or the what's happening in the universe. You can be a conscious participant or an unconscious participant. That's kind of not exactly always a choice. It really is, but most people don't have the wherewithal to make the choice. Most people are so loaded down by the baggage of what they've been created as, by the stuff that's gone into their life, bad parenting and bad siblings and difficult schooling, or all these things that make them so locked into this structure that they don't see the perfection of it. Because even in that desperate unhappiness is the seed of awareness. There's nothing that isn't working for your benefit. Nothing. And the ultimate explosion into what is incorporates everything you like and don't like. It really does. But one of the ways to make that explosion take place is do something you don't like. Because it just throws it off kilter. Take a road you didn't take before. It just, do the thing. I'm not trying to tell you to do those things. I'm just trying to say, what is it that finally lets you see the fallacy of your being? Because your being is so structured around not liking cheese, for example. If I could have gotten my mother to eat one piece of a cheese that I like and have her go, oh, that's not bad at all, that would have changed my life on some level. And it would have changed hers on some level. But I couldn't do it. The rigidity was so strong. And most of us are rigid in our sense of self, in our sense of likes and dislikes, and we suffer accordingly. Because if your likes are this, and life has given you that, what are you going to do? You're in trouble. You're really in trouble. And ultimately, we're all going to get that, whatever that is, because that's how it works. Ultimately, we all end up in stuff we don't like because it's taking everything away, literally everything away. And it's not like, not like, not like. How do you get to a place of inevitability where that's going to happen and go, thy will be done? Accept it. Be with it. Or really surrender and realize that in the massiveness of existence, that little not like is hardly recognizable. It's just a tiny little thing. And so when you live locked up in your individualized, unique self, that's going to be a hard road to go. When the spiritual awakening takes place, the awareness, which keeps happening for you over and over and over and over, it's like, oh, and that's a great gift.
And I don't know that you need more than that. I talk about awakening, and I know you have a hunger for the thing, the moment, whatever that is, It's kind of beside the point on some level. It's great, I guess, in a way, if it happens, because it just makes things easier on one level. It doesn't stop the process of what's happening. It just puts it in context. That context is a great context, but you're aware of that context. I know you are. You sit in that context every day. It's part of who you are. It's just, it's built in. That's why you get excited to come here, because it puts you into context again. It's like, oh, it's not just me, it's me. That's what spiritual Sangha is about. Everyone comes together to become one as opposed to become separate and unique. It's a great gift. So that's a process that we have to arrive at the vastness of our truth. That's what we're all after. Everyone is hungry for that. Everybody is hungry for that. But so many people have no concept that it's even there, but they know the hunger's there. They know, and they reach for all the wrong things. Another piece of chocolate cake, that'll do it. That'll take care of it. Or whatever the thing is for people. You keep taking that stuff on, it will get you there. Of course, it does just the opposite. It just puts more weight on. It just makes you heavier, thicker, denser in the world.
So it's really hard to talk about liking, because you keep talking about the not liking. So I actually want to talk. To talk about the liking,
sure.
Almost feel like it might be distracting because I arrange my whole life to just do things that I really like.
Yeah, no, don't we all? I mean, we try to.
And that can be a distraction.
Well,
right?
Yes, it can be it can. If you just do what you like, if your whole life is about whatever it may be. I mean, if your whole life is about making money, let's say, and every time you make more money, you're just happier and happier and happier and happier, and you do only what you like to do all that. That's a life. It's fine, but it has nothing to do with consciousness or awareness or awakening. It's just following instinctive likes. What do I like? Giving yourself pleasure, giving yourself happiness to the best that you can, and you define a life around that, and that life that you'll get will exist temporarily. And then suddenly it won't exist for various reasons. One, maybe you break your leg. Maybe the thing that you liked suddenly becomes unavailable. So, the various things that go on in having a world of like and dislike creates a kind of, as you said, distraction. But what it really is a field of very small being. The pursuit of pleasure and like, and the avoidance of dislike and displeasure is, for most people, what their life is. And you can define a life around it.
I don't give up. Just on the like, there's a passion about sometimes liking, and maybe you're in the flow of the universe when you're liking or something like that.
I don't in any way want to disparage liking. I really do not. That's not what I'm here about. I think the person you become, like I tried to say at the beginning of the talk, oneness includes you. It includes everything you like and don't like. It's all one thing. It's not a bad thing in and of itself, but it does sometimes really limit you from your awakening to what really is. It keeps you wrapped up in your furry little teddy bear. It's like, my grandma took my teddy bear away really when I was 4 years old. I never forgave her. I didn't really not forgive her because I didn't know she had taken it until years later. But I lost it at her house when I was 4. She did not want me having a teddy bear. And that loss of that thing I not only liked, I loved my teddy bear. I loved it. And then it was gone. That was a good lesson for me, losing the teddy bear. Because the things you like and love passionately are often ripped away. And then you have the opposite side of the coin. So, not that you shouldn't like passionately and love. I had a career that I loved. I really loved it, and I really enjoyed every minute of it. And it's gone now. It's over. It's completely over. I don't miss it at all. Because what's happening now is so rich and full, I don't need to look back at something that was rich and full. This is rich and full. It is. This is all there is. Get to that point, and life itself, I love this. But I also know it's only in this moment. In another moment, it could be we're in earthquake territory. Who knows what could happen? You just take it as it comes. Liking is important. It really is. But don't get caught in it.
Sorry, guys. So you liked your career, but you weren't awakened quote awakened then,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
So can you talk about that? Like, was that liking anything to do with?
With everything. With everything. If you follow your likes, they can lead you to what you really love. Your likes are, it's so funny that we should be talking likes and dislikes, but likes and loves are kind of what we're here for. They kind of pull us into our happiness, into your groove, whatever it is, and you live that. But the awakening to the larger truth of your being does not rob you of that. It enhances it puts it in perspective, in a great perspective. And I knew going through my career that I had, because I had a spiritual practice the entire time, that my spiritual practice was informing that career. And it was helping me have that career. I was a writer creating something out of nothing every day. Every day. That's, in my mind, very spiritually centered. I loved that process. I had to sell my ideas to people, and I couldn't sell them cerebrally. I had to come into a room, show up, and let it sell itself, really. And I kept doing it all the time. It was an amazing thing. It was a wonderful pursuit. It was wonderful. And now it's over, and I'm not looking back at all. Not for a second. The liking is got to be in the moment, in a sense. Love what is. Love what is a great approach. Love what is as opposed to hate what is, or don't like what is. Try to like it. And then in that regard, liking is a much better practice and a much better occurrence than not liking something or being overly judgmental. But I'm using liking as an accept it. It can be more than accept. It can be, oh, I love this. But it's an acceptance of it. If some moments you wake up that are terrible, you don't go, oh, I like this. You just go, ah, I get it. I accept it. And then it becomes something not quite like, but it becomes something that is not something you want to run from. And that's very helpful, because why run from what is? Where can you go? Where can you go? Okay? Okay. Until not next week, but the week after. Thank you, guys.